Tonight we journey to ancient Egypt, a land where the Nile River breathed life into the desert, and amulets small, sacred objects held the power to heal, protect, and guide souls through the trials of life and beyond. Let this tale of ancient wisdom, whispered by the river's edge, calm your thoughts and ease you into a deep, restful sleep. I'm curious to hear from you. Where are you tuning in from? And is it a cozy morning, afternoon, or evening for you? Drop a comment below. And if you love these soothing tales woven with history and imagination, hit that subscribe button to catch every new story. In the heart of ancient Egypt, where the sun blazed eternal and the Nile's waters shimmered like liquid sapphire, the people believed in a world alive with magic. The air itself seemed to hum with the presence of gods and spirits, and every aspect of life, from birth to death, was touched by rituals that wove the mortal and divine together. Among these rituals, none were as cherished or as intimate as the use of amulets. Small talismans carved from stone, faience or precious metals, believed to carry the blessings of the gods. These weren't mere trinkets. They were vessels of hope, tools of healing, and guardians of the soul. As you listen to the gentle pops of the fire, picture yourself standing on the banks of the Nile, the cool breeze brushing your skin, as we unravel the story of these sacred objects and their role in ancient Egyptian healing. Our tale begins in the bustling city of Thebes, around 1500 BCE, during the reign of Pharaoh Hatshepsut, one of Egypt's most enigmatic rulers. Thebes was a city of grandeur, its temples soaring toward the sky, their walls etched with stories of gods and kings. But beyond the towering obelisks and golden statues, in the quiet homes of artisans, farmers, and priests, life unfolded with a rhythm tied to the seasons and the river. Here, a young healer named Meret, whose name meant beloved, tended to her community with a knowledge passed down through generations. Meret was no ordinary healer. She was a ricket, a wise woman skilled in the arts of medicine, magic, and amulet craft. Her hands, calloused yet gentle, worked with herbs, incantations, and the sacred talismans that her people revered. Meret's home was a modest mud-brick dwelling, its walls adorned with simple paintings of lotus flowers and protective deities. Inside, a small wooden table held her tools, jars of natron, dried herbs like coriander and myrrh, and a collection of amulets, each one meticulously crafted. There was the Eye of Horus, its bold, curved lines symbolizing protection and wholeness. The Ankh, the cross with a loop at the top, representing eternal life, and the Scarab, a beetle-shaped charm that promised renewal and transformation. These amulets were more than ornaments. They were bridges to the divine, believed to channel the god's power to heal the body and soothe the spirit. As Meret worked, she would whisper prayers to Isis, the goddess of healing, asking for guidance to mend a fevered child or ease a laboring mother's pain. In ancient Egypt, healing was a sacred act, a delicate dance between the physical and the spiritual. The Egyptians believed that illness was not just a bodily ailment, but a sign of imbalance, perhaps a curse, a displeased deity, or a disruption in the cosmic order that held the universe together. Physicians and healers like Meret combined practical remedies with magical rituals, and amulets were at the heart of this practice. For example, a person suffering from a headache might be given a poultice of willow, leaves rich in salicin, a natural pain reliever we now know as the precursor to aspirin. But they would also wear an amulet of the goddess Sekhmet, the fierce lioness who could both cause and cure disease. The amulet, often inscribed with a spell, was believed to amplify the medicine's effect, aligning the body with the divine will. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the sky burned orange, a mother named Nefret came to Maret's door. Her son, Khepri, a boy of 7, had been struck with a fever that refused to break. His small body trembled, and his eyes, once bright as the stars, were dulled by pain. Nefret clutched a linen cloth, her voice trembling as she spoke. "Maret, please," she whispered. "The priests have prayed, the medicines have failed. I fear the gods have turned away from us." Maret, her heart steady as the Nile's flow, invited Nefret inside. She listened to the mother's story, noting the signs of Khepri's illness, the heat of his skin, the rapid beat of his heart, the way he clutched his stomach. But Maret also asked about dreams, omens, and the family's recent offerings to the gods, for in her world, no healing could begin without understanding the soul's state. Maret reached for an amulet shaped like a jed pillar, a symbol of stability and strength associated with Osiris, the god of the afterlife and rebirth. The jed, with its broad base and tiered column, was believed to anchor the body's vitality, rooting it against the chaos of illness. She placed the amulet in a small linen pouch, adding a pinch of myrrh for purification and a spell, inscribed on papyrus. "May Osiris grant you strength. May Isis shield your heart. May the fever flee before the light of Ra." She handed the pouch to Nefret, instructing her to tie it around Khepri's neck, close to his heart, and to bathe him with water drawn from the Nile at dawn, when the river was kissed by the first light of the sun god Ra. This ritual, simple yet profound, reflects a fascinating truth about ancient Egyptian healing. It was holistic, blending the tangible with the mystical. Amulets were often made from materials believed to hold inherent power. Lapis lazuli, with its deep blue hue, was linked to the heavens and the goddess Nut. Carnelian, fiery red, invoked the protective energy of Sekhmet. And faience, a glazed ceramic, was prized for its affordability and vibrant colors, making amulets accessible to all, from pharaohs to farmers. The choice of material, shape, and inscription was never random. Each was a deliberate act of magic, designed to resonate with the specific needs of the wearer. As Nefret left Maret's home, clutching the amulet like a lifeline, she felt a flicker of hope. The Egyptians believed that amulets worked, not just through divine intervention, but through the wearer's faith in them. This psychological aspect, what we might today call the placebo effect, was a cornerstone of their healing practices. A person who wore an amulet felt empowered, protected, and connected to the gods, which could bolster their resilience and aid recovery. Modern science has shown that belief in a treatment can reduce stress and stimulate the body's natural healing mechanisms, a principle the Egyptians intuitively understood thousands of years ago. Maret's work didn't end with Nefret. That same night, she was called to the home of an elderly scribe named Tehotep. whose joints ached with the weight of years. Tehotep was a man of words, his fingers stained with ink from years of recording the pharaoh's decrees. But now his hands trembled, and his knees buckled under the pain of what we might recognize as arthritis. Meret examined Huntley, noting the swelling in his joints and the fatigue in his eyes. She prepared a salve of frankincense and honey, known for their anti-inflammatory properties. But she also crafted an amulet for him, a small figure of Bais, the dwarfish god who protected households and warded off evil. Bais, with his lion-like mane and mischievous grin, was a favorite among the common people, a reminder that healing could be joyful, even in the face of suffering. As Meret tied the Bais amulet around Tehotep's wrist, she shared a story, one she often told to ease her patients' minds. Long ago, she began, her voice soft as the fire's crackle. When the gods walked the earth, Bais danced at the edge of the Nile, scaring away the spirits of sickness with his laughter. His joy was so fierce that even Sekhmet, the lioness of war, paused to smile. Tehotep chuckled, his pain momentarily forgotten, and Meret knew the amulet was already working its magic, not just through its divine connection, but through the comfort of the story itself. This storytelling tradition was another vital part of Egyptian healing. Healers like Meret were not just physicians, but keepers of wisdom, using tales to teach resilience and hope. The stories often carried practical lessons, the importance of rest, the value of community, the need to honor the gods through offerings and gratitude. These lessons resonate even today, reminding us that healing is as much about the mind and spirit as it is about the body. In a world where we often rely on pills and procedures, the Egyptian emphasis on connection between people, gods, and nature offers a timeless wisdom. True health comes from balance, from aligning ourselves with the rhythms of life. As the fire in your room continues to crackle, imagine Meret sitting by her own hearth, her work done for the night. She gazes at the stars through her window, the same stars that guided her ancestors and would guide her descendants. The amulets she crafted were more than tools. They were symbols of a worldview that saw no separation between the physical and the spiritual, between the individual and the cosmos. They were a reminder that every life, no matter how small, was part of a greater story, one written in the sands of Egypt and carried on the breath of the Nile. Let your eyes grow heavy now, your breath slow and deep. The fire's gentle pops are a lullaby, and the story of Meret and her amulets wraps around you like a warm embrace. As you drift toward sleep, carry with you the wisdom of ancient Egypt. We delve deeper into the sacred rituals and myths that shaped these talismans, exploring how the gods themselves danced through the lives of mortals, bringing healing, hope, and resilience. In the golden light of dawn, Meret stood by the Nile, her bare feet sinking into the cool, damp earth. The river, a lifeline for her people, shimmered with the first rays of Ah, the sun god whose journey across the sky marked the rhythm of life. Meret held a small amulet in her palm, a lotus flower carved from turquoise, its petals delicate yet vibrant, symbolizing rebirth and purity. She had crafted it for a young woman named Anuket, who was preparing to give birth under the watchful gaze of Hathor, the goddess of love and motherhood. As Meret whispered a prayer to Hathor, She felt the weight of her role, not just as a healer, but as a bridge between the mortal world and the divine, using amulets to channel the gods' blessings into the lives of those she served. In ancient Egypt, the gods were not distant figures but vibrant presences, woven into every aspect of existence. Each deity had a role in healing, and amulets were their earthly emissaries. Hathor, with her cow-horned headdress and gentle smile, protected mothers and children. Thoth, the ibis-headed god of wisdom, guided physicians in their diagnoses. And Sekhmet, the fierce lioness, wielded the power to both unleash plagues and cure them. Meret's amulets were crafted with these gods in mind, each one a prayer made tangible, a plea for divine intervention in the face of human frailty. As you listen to the fire's soft crackle, imagine the gods dancing across the Nile's surface, their laughter and roars mingling with the river's song, ready to lend their strength to those who called upon them. Meret's day was filled with purpose. After her morning ritual by the river, she returned to her home to prepare for Anuket's visit. Childbirth was a sacred yet perilous journey in ancient Egypt, and amulets played a central role in ensuring the safety of both mother and child. Meret had already crafted a series of talismans for Anuket, the lotus amulet for Hathor's blessing, a small figurine of Tauret, the hippopotamus goddess who guarded pregnant women, and a knotted cord inscribed with spells to ward off evil spirits. These amulets were not just protective but deeply symbolic, reflecting the Egyptians' belief that life was a cycle of creation and renewal, guided by the gods' eternal dance. When Anuket arrived, her face was radiant, but etched with the quiet fear that came with impending motherhood. She sat on a woven mat in Meret's home, her hands resting on her swollen belly, and shared her dreams of the child she carried. Meret listened, her eyes kind but searching, noting the young woman's strength and the subtle signs of her health. She handed Anuket the lotus amulet, explaining its power. The lotus rises from the mud each dawn, pure and whole, Meret said softly. So too will you rise, with Hathor's love to guide you. She then tied the Tauret figurine to Anuket's wrist, its rounded form a comforting weight, and taught her a chant to recite during labor. Tauret, great mother, shield my child. Hathor, sweet song, ease my heart. This blending of amulets, chants, and practical care was typical of Egyptian healing. Childbirth was supported by midwives, who used herbal remedies, such as fenugreek to stimulate contractions or honey to prevent infection. But the spiritual aspect was equally vital. Amulets like the Tauret figurine were often placed on the mother's body or hung above the birthing bed, believed to create a protective barrier against malevolent forces. The Egyptians feared spirits called Sikal, thought to target vulnerable moments like birth, and amulets were their first line of defense. This practice reveals a fascinating aspect of their worldview. They saw the universe as a battleground of order versus chaos, and amulets were weapons in the fight to maintain Ma'at, the cosmic harmony that sustained life. As Anuket left, clutching her amulets with renewed courage, Meret turned her attention to another task. A messenger had arrived from the temple of Amun-Ra, summoning her to assist a priest named Sinanmut, who had fallen ill with a mysterious ailment. Senenmut was no ordinary priest. He was a confidant of Pharaoh Hatshepsut, a man of influence whose sharp mind had helped shape her reign. His illness, a persistent cough, weakness, and visions of shadowy figures had alarmed the temple, and the high priest believed it was no ordinary sickness but a curse sent by an enemy or a displeased deity. Meret gathered her tools, including a rare amulet of Thoth, carved from obsidian and inlaid with silver. Thoth, the god of knowledge and magic, was invoked for complex cases where the cause of illness was unclear. The amulet, shaped like an ibis with a crescent moon above its head, was one of Meret's most treasured creations, passed down from her grandmother, a renowned Ricket in her own time. She also packed a scroll of spells from the Book of the Dead, a collection of incantations used to protect the living as well as the departed, and a vial of cedar oil, known for its purifying properties. At the temple, Meret found Senenmut lying on a reed mat, his face pale and his breath shallow. The air was thick with incense, and priests chanted softly, their voices a low hum that mingled with the fire's crackle in your room. Meret knelt beside him, her hands gentle as she assessed his condition. She noted the signs of a lung ailment, perhaps, caused by the dust of the temple's construction or an infection. But she also took seriously his visions, which he described as shadows that speak in tongues. In Egyptian belief, dreams and visions were messages from the divine or the dead, and a healer ignored them at their peril. Meret began by anointing Senenmut's chest with cedar oil, its warm, woody scent filling the space. She then placed the Thoth amulet on his forehead, whispering a spell. Thoth, scribe of truth, unveil the hidden. Banish the curse that clouds this soul. She also crafted a new amulet on the spada, small disc of faience inscribed with a Wijit, the eye of Horus, to shield him from further harm. As she worked, she told Senenmut a story of Thoth, who once restored the moon's light after it was shattered by Set, teaching her that even the heavens could be mended with wisdom and care. The story, like the amulet, was meant to calm his mind, for Meret knew that fear could weaken the body further. This case highlights a remarkable aspect of Egyptian healing, its willingness to embrace the unknown. While Meret used practical remedies, cedar oil for the lungs, rest, and hydration, she also addressed the spiritual dimension, recognizing that belief in a curse could exacerbate suffering. The amulet of Thoth and the Wijit were tools to restore Senenconfidence's confidence, much as modern therapy might use visualization or mindfulness to reduce stress. This holistic approach, blending medicine, magic, and storytelling, shows how deeply the Egyptians valued the interplay of mind, body and cosmos. As night fell, Meret left the temple, her heart heavy but hopeful. She paused by the Nile once more, offering a prayer of thanks to Isis for guiding her hands. The river's gentle flow seemed to echo with the laughter of Bes, the wisdom of Thoth, and the fierce love of Sekhmet, a chorus of gods, whose stories and powers lived in the amulets she crafted. These amulets were not just objects, but were threads in the fabric of Egyptian culture, connecting people to their myths, their community, and their faith in a world ordered by divine will. The Egyptians left us with a profound lesson, that healing is a dance, a balance of science and soul, of practical care and sacred trust. Their amulets, passed down through the ages, remind us that we, too, can find strength in the symbols and stories we carry. Whether it's a cherished necklace, a prayer, or a quiet moment by the fire, these talismans of hope can anchor us in life's storms, guiding us toward renewal. The air in Thebes was heavy with the scent of lotus blossoms and the distant hum of temple chants as Maret walked through the city's narrow streets, her basket of healing tools slung over her shoulder. It was the season of Akhet, the inundation, when the Nile swelled and blanketed the fields with fertile silt, promising abundance, but also challenges. The flooding brought life, but it also stirred hidden dangers. Damp homes bred illness, and the shifting waters sometimes unearthed old fears, stories of curses and restless spirits. For Maret, this was a time of vigilance, as her people turned to amulets, not only for healing, but to ward off the unseen forces that threatened their peace. Maret's morning began with a visit to a potter named Djoser, a wiry man whose hands shaped clay into vessels as delicate as the dawn. Djoser had come to her in distress, his sleep plagued by nightmares of a shadowed figure that whispered his name. His hands, once steady, now trembled, and his pots cracked in the kiln. A sign he feared was more than mere chance. "Maret," he said, his voice low, "I've angered someone? The dreams feel alive like a curse sent to unravel me." In ancient Egypt, curses were taken seriously, believed to be cast by enemies, jealous spirits, or even the gods themselves when the cosmic order was disrupted. Maret, trained to see both the seen and unseen, knew that Djoser's fear could be as harmful as any spell. She invited him into her home, where the air was cool and scented with myrrh. Sitting across from him, she listened to his dreams, noting their vividness and the recurring image of a shadowed figure with eyes like burning coals. Such visions, she knew, could stem from guilt, fear, or even an imbalance in the body, a fever, perhaps, or a heart weighed by unspoken grief. Maret's approach was gentle but thorough. She examined Djoser's eyes, his pulse, and the tension in his shoulders, suspecting exhaustion from long hours at the kiln. But she also honored his belief in a curse, for in Egypt, the line between the physical and spiritual was as fluid as the Nile itself. Maret reached for an amulet of Bastet, the cat goddess who protected against evil spirits and brought joy to the home. The amulet, carved from green jasper, depicted Bastet with her sleek feline form, her eyes wide and watchful. Maret placed it in Djoser's hands, explaining its power. "Bastet guards the hearth and banishes shadows," she said, her voice soft as the fire's crackle. "Wear this close to your heart, and let her light drive away the darkness in your dreams." She also gave him a small vial of chamomile tea to calm his nerves and instructed him to burn a sprig of juniper each night. Its smoke believed to purify the air of malevolent forces. Finally, she wrote a spell on a strip of papyrus to be tucked beneath his pillow. "Bastet, Lady of the Flame, shield this soul. Let no shadow linger where your light shines." This ritual reflects a profound truth about Egyptian healing. It addressed the whole person, body and soul. The Egyptians understood that fear and anxiety could manifest as physical symptoms, much as modern psychology recognizes the link between mental stress and bodily health. The Bastet amulet, paired with practical remedies like chamomile, was a holistic prescription designed to restore Djozir's sense of safety and control. The act of wearing an amulet was itself empowering, a reminder that the gods were near, watching over even the humblest potter. As Djozir left, clutching the amulet, his shoulders seemed lighter, his eyes brighter, a testament to the power of belief, a lesson that resonates even in our modern world, where a kind word or a cherished keepsake can soothe a troubled mind. Marette's day was far from over. As the sun climbed higher, she was called to the home of a widow named Tuya, whose grief had become a sickness of its own. Tuya's husband, a fisherman, had been taken by the Nile's currents a year ago, and Tuya had since withdrawn into a world of sorrow, barely eating or speaking. Her daughter, a young girl named Izzet, had come to Marette in desperation, her small face streaked with tears. "She fades like a shadow," Izzet whispered. "Please, Marette, help her." Tuya's home was a small, dimly lit space, its walls bare except for a single painting of Anubis, the jackal-headed god of the afterlife. Tuya sat on a mat, her eyes distant, her body frail from neglect. Marette knelt beside her, noting the pallor of her skin and the trembling in her hands. Grief, Marette knew, could consume a person as surely as any fever, eroding the will to live. She spoke softly to Tuya, asking about her husband, her life, and the moments that once brought her joy. Tuya's voice was barely a whisper, but she spoke of her husband's laughter, how he would sing to the river as he cast his nets. Marette chose an amulet of Isis, the goddess of mourning and renewal, whose wings were said to cradle the souls of the suffering. The amulet was made of faience, its blue-green glaze catching the light like the Nile at dawn. It depicted Isis with outstretched wings, her face serene yet powerful. Marette placed the amulet around Tuya's neck, tying it with a linen cord. "Isis knows your pain," she said gently. "She lost her beloved Osiris, yet she wove his body whole again with her love. Let her strength guide you back to the light." She also prepared a tonic of honey and poppy seeds to help Tuya sleep. For rest was the first step toward healing a heart so heavy. To engage Tuya's spirit, Marette shared a story, one told by her own mother long ago. When Isis sought the pieces of Osiris, she began, her voice a soothing murmur. She traveled the world, her heart broken, but her will unbroken. With every step she sang of love that endures beyond death, and the gods themselves wept at her courage. As she spoke, Marette watched Tuya's eyes soften, a flicker of life returning. Storytelling, like amulets, was a medicine of the soul, a way to remind the grieving that they were not alone in their pain. This tradition, rooted in Egypt's oral culture, carried lessons of resilience, that love, like the Nile, could flow through even the darkest seasons. The use of amulets for emotional healing, as in Tuya's case, reveals another layer of Egyptian wisdom, while amulets like the Eye of Horus or the Scarab were often used for physical protection. Others, like the Isis amulet, addressed the heart's wounds. These talismans were often buried with the dead, believed to guide them through the afterlife, but they also served the living, offering comfort in times of loss. The Egyptians understood that grief could disrupt Mat. The balance of life and amulets were a way to restore it, anchoring the wearer to the eternal cycle of death and rebirth. As Meret left Tuya's home, she felt the weight of her role as a ricket. Healing was not just about curing the body, but about mending the invisible threads that connected a person to their community, their gods, and their purpose. She thought of her own amulet, a small ankh tucked beneath her tunic, a gift from her grandmother. The ankh, the symbol of eternal life, reminded her that every act of healing was a step toward eternity, a way to align the mortal with the divine. The day waned and Meret returned to the Nile's edge, where the water reflected the first stars of evening. She knelt to wash her hands, offering a silent prayer to Hapi, the god of the Nile, for the strength to carry on. The amulets she crafted were more than objects. They were promises of protection, of hope, of a world where chaos could be tamed by faith and love. The Egyptians believed that life was a journey through a landscape of seen and unseen forces, and amulets were their companions, guiding them through the shadows. As the sun breaches the horizon over Thebes, its golden and rose hues bathe the ancient city in a warm embrace. You stand in the role of Meret, a ricket revered for weaving not only amulets but the very bonds that hold your community together. The season of Akhet, the time of the Nile's nourishing flood, is in full splendor, transforming the land into a patchwork of fertile fields. Yet, beneath this abundance, a current of unease ripples through the people. Prosperity often breeds fear of loss, and as a ricket, your sacred duty is to restore Mat the cosmic, balance of harmony using your wisdom, herbs, and the protective power of amulets. Today, a crisis threatens to unravel the fragile unity of Thebes, and the path ahead will test your courage and compassion. What choices will you make to mend the hearts and homes of your people? Whispers have reached you of a troubling affliction, spreading through a cluster of mud brick homes near the city's edge, where artisans and laborers live in tight-knit quarters. Families are plagued by a persistent cough, their strength drained as if an unseen force saps their vitality. Fear has taken root, and rumors swirl of a curse tainting a shared well, sparked by a recent dispute among neighbors over its use. Some believe an envious spirit has poisoned the water, turning a place of laughter into one of suspicion. The village elder, Kemet, a woman whose weathered face carries the weight of wisdom, summons you to a gathering beneath a sprawling sycamore tree. As you approach, the crowd's anxious murmurs fill the air, their eyes fixed on you. Kemet's voice, steady despite her years, cuts through the tension. The illness spreads, Meret, and with it, fear. Some blame the well, others their neighbors. We look to you to heal our bodies and our trust. What will you do? You pause, feeling the weight of their hope. In ancient Egypt, illness is not merely a matter, be it of body or spirit, it signals a disruption of Mat, a fracture in the harmony between people and the divine. As a ricket, your role is to restore balance through both practical remedies and spiritual guidance. You nod to Kemet, your resolve firm, and set out to uncover the truth. With your basket brimming with herbs, oils, and carefully crafted amulets, you make your way to the afflicted homes. Inside, the air is heavy with the dampness of the flood season, and the sound of coughing echoes through the small, dimly lit spaces rooms. You examine the sick men who carve stone, women who spin flax, children whose bright eyes are dulled by fatigue. The symptoms point to a respiratory ailment, likely worsened by the close quarters and the humid air. You prescribe infusions of thyme and honey, known for soothing the throat, and instruct families to open their homes to let fresh air dispel the stagnation. But as you move from house to house, you sense a deeper wound. Fear has turned neighbors into strangers. The well, once a hub of shared stories and laughter, now stands abandoned, its waters shunned. How will you bridge this divide? You understand that healing bodies alone won't suffice. The community's spirit must be mended. To address the whispers of a curse, you decide to craft a communal amulet, a rare and potent act reserved for moments when mat hangs in the balance. In your workshop, surrounded by tools and sacred stones, you select a large piece of carnelian, its fiery red hue evoking the fierce protection of Sekhmet, the lioness goddess who wields power over plagues and their cures. With a steady hand, you carve the shape of a shen ring, a circular band with a knot, symbolizing eternity and safeguarding all within its embrace. Into its surface you etch a spell, your voice soft but resolute. Sekhmet, fire of life, burn away discord. Let harmony flow like the Nile's embrace. The amulet pulses with purpose, a tangible reminder of unity in the face of fear. That evening you call the community to gather once more beneath the sycamore tree, where a small fire crackles, its light dancing like the gods themselves. Holding the carnelian shen amulet aloft, you watch as its surface catches the flame's glow, casting a warm radiance over the crowd. This is no curse from gods or spirits. You declare, your voice calm yet unwavering. It is a test of our strength, our unity. Sekhmet watches. Will you stand together as one? You step toward the well, tying the amulet to its base with a cord blessed by the priests of Amun-Ra. Leading the group in a chant, you invite them to join. Let the shen bind us, let Mat return. One by one voices rise, tentative at first, then strong, weaving a tapestry of sound that drowns out the fire's crackle. Will you lend your voice to this song, affirming the power of togetherness? This ritual is more than symbolic. It echoes the Egyptian belief that community is a sacred force, as vital as the Nile's waters. Amulets like the shen ring were often placed in public spaces, wells, temples, or village squares to foster unity and ward off chaos. Modern studies in community psychology support this ancient wisdom, showing that social bonds reduce stress and promote healing, a principle your people practice with intuitive grace. As days pass, the coughs begin to fade, and the well once again rings with laughter. Your work has restored more than health, it has rewoven the threads of trust. But your day is far from over, and another challenge awaits, one that will test your own resilience. As twilight paints the sky, a young boy named Ammon bursts through your door, his eyes wide with urgency. "Meret, come quickly. My sister Neith, she's hurt." Neith, a weaver renowned for her vibrant linens, has been injured when her loom collapsed, her arm badly bruised, and her spirit shattered. You follow Amun to her workshop, where half-finished tapestries hang like frozen dreams. Neith sits amidst the chaos, her face pale, clutching a small loom charm around her neck. "I've failed her," she whispers, her voice trembling with fear that she has lost favor with Neith, the warrior goddess who protects weavers and shares her name. You kneel beside her, gently examining her arm. The swelling is severe, but the bones are intact. You prepare a poultice of comfrey and aloe, its cooling touch easing her pain. Yet you know her deeper wound is one of doubt. To heal her spirit, you reach into your basket and select an amulet of Neith. The goddess, crafted from lapis lazuli, its deep blue mirroring the heavens. The amulet depicts the goddess with her bow and arrows, a symbol of protection and precision. Tying it gently around Neith's uninjured wrist, you whisper a spell. "Neith, weaver of fate, guard this daughter. Let her hands create beauty once more." But words alone won't suffice. To lift her heart, you share a story, your voice soft as the fire's glow. Long ago, Neith wove the world's first threads, binding earth to sky. When her loom faltered, she did not despair, but sang to the stars, and they guided her hands. Will you trust that this accident is not a punishment, but a thread to mend? Neith's eyes brighten, a faint smile breaking through her pain. How will you carry this lesson forward when setbacks test your own faith? This moment reveals another layer of Egyptian life. Artisans like Neith often wore amulets dedicated to their craft's patron deity. Neith for weavers, Ptah for craftsmen, Thoth for scribes believing these talismans enhanced skill and shielded against misfortune. These objects were both practical and spiritual, grounding the weaver in their purpose while connecting them to the divine. Today we might see echoes in the tokens we cherish: a writer's favorite pen, a musician's lucky charm, reminders that our work is part of a larger story. Neith's amulet and your story work together, restoring her confidence to weave again. As night falls, you return to your modest home, weary but fulfilled. Lighting a small lamp, you watch its flame cast shadows that dance like the gods themselves. You reflect on the Shen amulet at the well, the lapis Neith amulet, and the countless others you've crafted, each a thread in the tapestry of your community. The Egyptians believed life was a delicate balance of chaos and order, and amulets were tools to tip the scales toward harmony. They were not mere objects, but acts of faith, symbols of a people who faced uncertainty with courage and connection. Yet as you sit by your lamp, another challenge stirs your thoughts. A messenger arrives breathless with news from the temple of Amun-Ra. A dispute has erupted among the priests over the allocation of grain from the flood season's harvest. Some argue for storing it against future scarcity, while others demand it be shared now to honor the god's bounty. The tension threatens to spill into the city, sowing discord among the people you've worked so hard to unite. The high priest has requested your presence at dawn to mediate, trusting your reputation as a ricket to restore balance. What will you do to calm these rising tempers? You consider crafting another communal amulet, perhaps one dedicated to Amun-Ra, whose light unifies all. Or will you rely on storytelling, sharing a tale of a past famine when Thebes survived by sharing its stores, reminding the priests of their duty to the people? As you ponder, You realize that your role as Meret is not just to heal, but to inspire others to weave their own threads of mat. Each decision you make, each amulet, each story ripples outward, shaping the community's spirit. The fire in your room crackles softly, its warmth lulling you deeper. Picture yourself as Senate, your heart full of gratitude for the harmony you've woven. The pyramid stands tall, its shadow a gentle embrace. Your breath slows, matching the Nile's distant flow, as the desert's hush carries you toward sleep. Where are you weaving this tale in your world? As the moon hangs low over the sands of Giza, its silver light casting long shadows across the Great Pyramid, you stand in the role of Senate, a keeper of amulets in ancient Egypt. The air is cool, carrying the scent of desert dust and distant Nile waters, soothing your senses as you prepare for a night that hums with quiet mystery. The season of Pare, when the land emerges from the flood's embrace, blankets the world in a gentle calm, yet whispers of unrest stir among the pyramid's workers. Your role is to craft amulets that guard not just bodies, but the harmony of this sacred place, where stone and star align to touch the gods. Tonight, a challenge awaits within the pyramid's shadow, and your choices will weave its tale. As your eyelids grow heavy, let the desert's hush guide you into this sleepy story. Where are you drifting into this tale, and what time wraps around you? Share in the comments, and if these cozy, starlit stories blend history and imagination to lull your soul, subscribe to dream with us again. The Great Pyramid, a monument to Khufu's eternal journey, looms before you, its limestone glowing faintly under the moon. You've been summoned by the overseer, a kind-eyed man named Tehotep, who tends the workers building a new causeway to link the pyramid to the Nile. His voice is soft but urgent as he meets you at the base of the structure. Senate, something troubles our people, he says, his words blending with the night's breeze. A shadow has fallen over the workers' camp. They speak of dreams, dark visions of crumbling stones and fading stars. They fear the pyramid spirit is angry, that we've lost favor with Ra. Will you help us restore peace? You feel the weight of his trust, your heart steady but curious. In ancient Egypt, dreams were messages from the divine. An unrest among the pyramid's workers could disrupt the sacred balance of Mat. As a keeper of amulets, your craft binds the earthly to the eternal, using talismans to protect and unify. You nod to Tehotep, your basket of stones, cords, and herbs swaying at your side, and follow him to the camp, a cluster of reed huts nestled near the pyramid's base. The workers, stonecutters, and haulers sit around a small fire, their faces etched with worry. A woman named Merit, her hands calloused from rope work, speaks first. In my dream, the pyramid's peak falls, and the stars go dark, she whispers. Others nod, sharing similar visions of chaos. They point to a recent accident, a cart of limestone tipped, bruising 2 men, and fear it's a sign of divine displeasure. How will you ease their fears? You settle by the fire, its crackle a soft lullaby, and listen to their stories. The dreams suggest a shared anxiety, perhaps stirred by the accident, and the immense pressure of building a god-king's tomb. The pyramid, a bridge to the heavens, demands perfection, and any misstep feels like a wound to Rhea himself. You decide to begin with practical care. visiting the injured men in a nearby hut. Their bruises are healing, but their spirits are heavy. You apply a poultice of aloe and mint, its cool scent calming their nerves, and offer each a small amulet, a turquoise scarab, symbolizing life's renewal. Ra's beetle rolls the sun across the sky, you say gently. Will you hold this and trust his light returns? They nod, their eyes softening, and you feel the first thread of peace take hold. But the camp's deeper unrest calls for a greater act. You sense the workers need a shared symbol to bind their fears into hope, something tied to the pyramid itself. You return to the fire, the stars above mirroring the flames below, and announce a ritual at dawn, when Ra's first light kisses the pyramid's peak. For this you'll craft a communal amulet, a rare creation to restore Matt. In the quiet of your tent, you select a piece of obsidian, its dark sheen evoking the night sky where Ab battles chaos each dusk. With steady hands, you carve the shape of a Benben stone, the sacred pyramidion that crowns the monument, symbolizing creation and light. You inscribe a spell, your voice a whisper. Ra, Son of Eternity, guard this work. Let your rays bind us as one. The amulet feels warm, as if holding the dawn's promise. Will you trust its power to unify the camp? As midnight deepens, you walk the camp, the pyramid's silhouette a silent guardian. You notice a young boy, Khepri, no older than 10, sitting alone, clutching a pebble. His father, a stonecutter, has been restless since the accident, and Khepri's dreams echo the camp's fears, stones falling, stars fading. I don't want the pyramid to break, he murmurs, his voice small. You sit beside him, the sand cool beneath you, and offer a story to ease his heart. Long ago, Ra shaped the Benben stone from chaos, setting it atop the first hill to birth the world. When shadows came, he shone brighter. Will you believe the pyramid stands strong like Ra's light? You give him a tiny obsidian Benben amulet, a twin to the communal one, and tie it around his wrist. His smile, faint but real, warms you as your own breath slows, the desert's calm seeping into your bones. Dawn approaches, and you gather the workers at the pyramid's base, the horizon blushing with Ra's promise. The fire from last night has faded to embers, its glow mirrored in your room as you listen. You hold the obsidian Benben amulet aloft, its surface catching the first golden rays. These dreams are not curses, you say, your voice soft as a lullaby. They're Ra's call to stand together, to build not just stone, but trust. Will you join me in this vow? You place the amulet on a small altar of limestone, tying it with a cord blessed by the priests of Heliopolis, and lead a chant. Ra, light of Maat, bind our hearts. Let the Benben shine forever. The workers' voices rise, blending with the dawn's breeze, their fears dissolving like mist. You invite them to touch the amulet, each hand a thread in the tapestry of unity. Will you add your touch, sealing this bond? This ritual weaves the Egyptian belief that amulets, especially those tied to sacred sites like pyramids, held divine power. The Benben stone, a symbol of creation, was revered as Ra's first act, and its miniature forms protected homes and hearts. Modern anthropology notes that shared rituals, like this one, foster collective resilience, a truth the Egyptians lived with grace. As days pass, the workers' dreams soften, filled with stars and steady stones. The causeway's work resumes, each block laid with renewed purpose. Your amulet rests on the altar, a beacon of Maat, and the pyramid stands unshaken, its peak piercing the sky. But as you linger by the altar, a new whisper reaches you. An elder worker, Mena, approaches, his eyes clouded with a private worry. He speaks of a vision not shared with the others, a falcon, Horus hovering over the pyramid, its cry echoing through a storm. He fears it warns of a flaw in the causeway's foundation, a crack unseen but dangerous. Senate, what does Horus ask of us? He pleads. Your mind, heavy with the night's work, drifts toward sleep, but you focus. You craft a small amulet for Mena, a falcon of lapis lazuli. Its wings spread to guard. Horus sees beyond the storm, you say, tying the amulet to his wrist. Will you walk the causeway tomorrow, seeking truth with clear eyes? You promise to join him, to inspect the stones at midday, blending your amulet's protection with practical care. As you return to your tent, the stars fade into dawn's glow. You light a small lamp, its flame dancing like Ra's rays, and reflect on the Benben amulet, the scarabs, the falcon, each a thread in Giza's story. The pyramid, a stairway to the gods, reminds you that Maat is built not alone, but together, stone by stone, heart by heart. The Egyptians saw amulets as acts of faith, grounding their dreams in the divine. Today, we might carry our own talismans, a locket, a ring, symbols of hope in life's shadows. In the golden sands of ancient Egypt, where the Nile's gentle flow nurtured a civilization that touched the stars, amulets were more than mere objects. They were sacred threads weaving humanity to the divine. As you stand in the shadow of the Great Pyramid, imagine yourself as a keeper of these talismans, like Senet, crafting symbols of protection and harmony. The Egyptians believed amulets, such as the Ankh, Scarab, and Benben stone, carried the breath of gods like Re and Horus, guarding hearts and homes while aligning life with Maat, the cosmic balance of truth and order. These small, potent charms, often placed in tombs or worn by artisans, connected the earthly to the eternal, ensuring prosperity for a civilization that built wonders enduring millennia. Their spiritual wisdom, rooted in unity and resilience, fueled Egypt's success, making it a beacon of culture, architecture, and faith. As the pyramid stones reflect starlight, feel the amulet's power in your own heart, symbols of hope that transcend time, guiding us still. Thank you for listening till the end. We'll keep crafting these soulful tales that blend history and spirit, just for you. Please share your thoughts and love in the comments below, and subscribe for more enchanting stories to come.